So after the talk about all the talk from the alt left, the fake fucking left, about Erdogan being the one behind this whole thing taking place with Assad leaving Syria and the Syrian government falling to these fucking terrorists, our terrorists, the Al Qaeda guy, and Nusra and HTS and all these fucking terrorists, proxy terrorists that we use. After all the talk that Erdogan was the one behind it, and oh my God, it's the Sultan Erdogan, as we talked about before, as I've talked about before, as we talked about yesterday during the Twitter Spaces thing, Israel was the one who was behind it. And guess what? Israel has just launched a full-on invasion of Syria. They are taking it for the Greater Israel Project. They are taking what was left of Israel, everything west of the Euphrates, whereas everything east of the Euphrates has already been busted off for the Greater Kurdistan Project. It'll be married up with the Iraqi Kurdistan, chunk of Iraqi Kurdistan to make up Kurdistan in the near future. And then, of course, in order to complete the Greater Kurdistan picture, they need to bust off part of Turkey, which is why they're demonizing Erdogan, and bust off part of Iran. Another reason they're demonizing the Iranians and the mullahs in Iran. Of course, tacitly, the fake alt-left, the bought and paid for alt-left, the alt-left that can afford to take junkets to whatever country some action is happening at the drop of a hat on private fucking planes, those fuckers, the Max Blumenthal crowd, those fuckers have been telling you that Erdogan was behind the whole thing, whereas people like myself and Aunt Bibi and Doodle Bob and others, few others have been telling you, no, boys and girls, that's distraction. That's another red herring. Like those words written on the side of those little fucking shell casings. That's another fucking red herring. The reality is that Israel was behind the whole thing. The United States and Israel, this was their opportunity. They had just fucking been thwarted, taking fucking the whole of fucking Lebanon, but that will happen next because that's the next weakest link. And so instead of just taking the Golan Heights and snatching that up, with Trump on the way in, Biden has allowed him to, or allowed Erdogan, Netanyahu, to go ahead and take the whole of fucking Syria. They bombed 200 last night. While everybody was blaming Erdogan, Israel gave the order to bomb 250 sites inside Syria. 250, and they have launched tank convoys and full-on fucking brigades into Syria to take the country and make it part of Israel. They are stealing Syria as we speak. They are stealing Syria. I made my video this morning on Fauci. We'll see what happens. But there you go. This is from RT. Israel, I added this. RT would never add that, but I added this. Israel has launched a large-scale attack on targets in Syria with warplanes pounding at least 3 airports and other infrastructure following the demise of former President Bashar al-Assad's government, according to several media reports. Israeli tanks have reportedly broken out of the buffer zone adjacent to the illegally occupied Golan Heights on the Syrian border and moved towards Damascus through West Jerusalem, although West Jerusalem has denied the claim. An unnamed Israeli security source told the Israeli Army radio that, quote, more than 250 military targets were attacked in Syria, describing the assault as one of the largest attack operations in the history of the Air Force. Those targets included the bases of Assad army, dozens of fighter jets, dozens of surface-to-air missile systems, production sites and warehouses, and surface-to-surface missiles. This is a full-on invasion. Like the likes. Listen, this is what we did. This is what we did with ISIS east of the Euphrates. I told you that a million times. ISIS worked for us. ISIS was our proxy army through an irregular warfare campaign. They would go into a town, to a village, to a city that was supportive of Assad and the Syrian government. They would kill, they would loot, they would terrorize, they would drive people out. And if anybody tried to come and help them, then U.S. warplanes would bomb the fuck out of those people trying to come and help them. And so people left, and then once the village, the city, the town was fucking taken by ISIS, then in came the glorious Kurds, and they would chase ISIS out, but then ISIS would just hop in the fucking white helixes, or in some cases, a row of buses, and then just be allowed to drive willy-nilly to the next fucking town, where they did the same thing. This is what's happening now with HTS and this former Al-Qaeda fucking guy. They're doing the same thing. Only this time it's not for the Kurds, it's for Israel. It's not hard to understand. From Press TV, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq have condemned Israel's seizure of Syrian land after the fall of President Bashar al-Assad's government. After armed groups led by HTS militants, Al-Qaeda, captured the Syrian capital, which led to the fall of President Bashar al-Assad's government on Sunday, Israel swiftly moved in and seized the buffer zone separating the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights from the rest of the Syrian land. In a statement on Monday, Qatar's foreign minister described the Israeli move as a dangerous development and a blatant attack on Syria's sovereignty as well and unity, as well as a flagrant violation of international law. Israel doesn't need to adhere to international law because Holocaust. That's it. The policy of imposing a fait accompli pursued by the Israeli occupation, including its attempts to occupy Syrian territories, will lead the region to further violence and tension, the ministry warned. Also on Monday, Saudi foreign ministry slammed the Israeli action, saying that they confirm Israel's continued violation of rules of international law and determination to sabotage Syria's chances of restoring its security, stability, and territorial integrity. The kingdom urged the international community to condemn Israeli moves, emphasizing that Golan Heights is an occupied Arab territory. Iraq also decried the Israeli aggression as a grave violation under international law. And we have this from Daily Sabah. Israeli forces advanced approximately 25 kilometers southwest of Damascus on Tuesday. Syrian security forces reported following airstrikes on Syrian military targets and the seizure of a buffer zone in southern Syria. Egypt, Qatar, Saudi Arabia condemned the moves, with Riyadh saying that the move would ruin Syria's chances of restoring security. War Monitor said Tuesday that Israel had destroyed the most important military sites in Syria with a flurry of airstrikes since the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime, quote-unquote regime. This is bad. This is awful. This is exactly what we told you was going to happen because of this. This, by the way, is defined by the Euphrates. This, by the way, is Rojava. And this was Syria, minus this little area down here called Tamph, where we trained terrorists who did this and kept Syrians out of it, and the Syrian government out of it. Now, this is the next target. This is Lebanon. There's an interesting post. Who was it from? It's one of these things. It's an interesting post talking about Schmotich saying that now's the time to grab both the West Bank once and for all and Gaza. Now's the time to just grab it and take it all. Take all that glorious land, says the fucking psychotic, messianic fucking Jewish supremacist Zionists. This is bad. I wonder again, we talked yesterday about this. We also mentioned yesterday, late in the fucking discussion on the Twitter Spaces thing, that there's a possibility that this whole thing about Assad and his family being safe in Moscow is bullshit. That it's a fake release from somebody inside fucking, or even just reporters making up fake fucking stories about this release. Could be that they killed him. I mean, I don't know until I see him talking, until I see them talking. There's no reason why Assad, if he's fine and dandy in Moscow, doesn't get in front of a camera and say, I'm okay in Moscow. There's absolutely no reason. Hopefully he's already done that, maybe. But I think the problem here is, for them, the Israelis understand. If that had been the case, then that would really light the fucking Middle East on fire. And if they're worried that that is going to come out soon enough, maybe they decide to grab what they can while the grabbing's good. I don't know. But this is definitely problematic. Here is the bully of the block stealing the lunch money because the 300-pound gorilla, who's his backup, is threatening anybody and everybody who would want to stop him. The United States is the 300-pound gorilla, and Israel is just the little measly fucking bully on the block, who, if left to their own devices, if the 800-pound gorilla just said, fuck you, see you later, would suddenly have to change their behavior. It's interesting. Seasons, I posted Seasons' talk at the Oxford Student Union, and she ended with, maybe at some point in time, Israel's going to realize they have to learn how to get along with other people, and maybe they won't, but they're going to have to learn how to get along with other people. And she's talking about that in reference to Palestine and Palestinians in Gaza and West Bank. In order to be, a respected and integral part of the Middle Eastern community. Clearly, that's fallen on deaf ears, because all they want to do is grab land by force. Just steal, 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 steal. Again, people out there will be talking about, have been talking about Erdogan. Erdogan's not fucking invading Syria, you dumb fucks. It wasn't Erdogan. Erdogan had his statement last week saying that Assad had refused to participate in this meeting. And that was problematic, and it was. Now, whether that led to Assad and his family being forced to leave because the generals turned their back on him and got bought off, or the prime minister turned his back on him and got bought off, that's only time will tell these things. Or whether something like, was it the Romanov fucking family, the royal family in Russia back in the day, right during the Russian Revolution, Anastasia. Something like that might have happened. But only it wasn't a uprising of the fucking opposition and the people. Something very different. I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. Even still, if he's alive and he's making a video right now as we speak, that's great. That's wonderful. It doesn't change what I'm talking about in terms of Israel. Israel's what's behind this. And to all those people who were talking about Erdogan and the Sultan and stealing Syria, shame on you. Here's the reality in your face while you were distracting your audience to look up north to fucking Turkey. The reality was the tanks were rolling in from south down in Israel, out of Israel. I thank you for your time.